A brief description of the AWS D15.1 testing to meet welding qualifications for the Northeast region, Carmen. Practice in all positions whenever possible with a scrap piece of angle. Practice welding 5/16" beads. Keep the puddle round, go slow. Don't let the weld hump up or roll over and create a spot where slag can get trapped underneath it. You want it to be smooth and clean. Between every pass, use a chipping hammer and a wire brush to clean it thoroughly. Continue welding 5/16" beads until you have enough to fill the 3/8" test plate. An angle is pretty much the same exact gap that you're going to be filling whenever you test. It's better to use more passes rather than less, and clean in between to keep the slag from getting underneath your weld and failing. The horizontal, vertical up, and overhead tests are assembled exactly the same. Material needed for these tests are 2 3/8x3 pieces of bar 7 inches long, beveled at a 22.5 angle, and 1/4 inch by 1 piece of bar 9 inches long. Place the 2 3/8" plates side by side with the 1/4 inch backer behind it, and use a 1/4 inch piece of steel to create the gap needed to fill for your test plate. The backer will stick out 1 inch from each end of your test plate. Use that 1 inch to start and stop your welds. Don't start and stop within the test plate. Tacking the plate tightly up against the backer is important. This prevents slag inclusions from being formed underneath your welds and failing your weld. When you tack your plates, tack them at the top and the bottom. Don't tack anything in the path of your weld. Don't make a spot where you're going to have to weld over a tack. After you tack the top and the bottom, flip the plate over and run a series of tacks up the back of the backer to further secure it. Setting up for the 2G horizontal test. Tack the test in a comfortable position. Remember, you're going to be there for a little while welding. Start your root pass by welding into the center of the backer, letting the puddle fuse to each side of the 3/8 plate. Remember to run the weld off each end of your backer plate. Fill the test groove evenly with smooth, consistent passes until convex but not more than 1/8 inch. Use this rule for all positions. The horizontal test should be completed with no less than 6 stringer beads. More is okay, but less could create slag inclusions and fail your test. Vertical up is done normally with 3 passes, a root, a filler, and a cap, but some may choose to do more. However, use 3 as a minimum. First stringer, slow and steady. Watch the metal fuse to both sides of the 3/8 plate. Run the bead of weld off each end and onto the backer plate. Use that backer plate to start and finish your weld. Stopping the filler pass just short of filling the joint leaves the line that you're going to use to create the cap to finish your test. finished vertical up test should be free of undercut and look as neat and uniform as possible. The pipe test consists of a 5-inch by 4-inch by 1/4 inch thick plate and a 3-inch piece of train line. It is welded half at a time, starting from the bottom and working your way up on each side. Tack the pipe tightly against the 1/4 inch plate. Use the inside of the pipe to tack. Don't create any spots where you're welding over a tack in order to complete this test. One bead of weld will complete this test. Try for a 5/16 inch bead. Overhead is completed the same as horizontal, a series of stringer beads. Get used to the idea of running hot. That's what it'll take to pass. Position the overhead test high enough to where you're not bending over or slumping over trying to see your weld. Run the first pass down the center of the backer, watching the puddle fuse into both sides of the 3/8 plate. Remember to run each end of the weld off onto the backer. The finished product should look nearly identical to the horizontal plate when it is finished. These 4 tests will be required for both flux cord welding and stick for welders required to use both types of welding. These 4 tests will complete the AWS D15.1 requirements for the types of welding performed by BP and SB Carmen. For those Carmen required to perform welding in both FCAW and SMAW, tests will have to be completed in both procedures for a total of 8 tests. Start practicing as often as possible with angle until you are confident in your welds.